What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Royal Figures Podcast. Before I get into the episode, I want you to go ahead and follow us and subscribe to our podcast platforms available on Apple and Spotify and all podcast platforms. You can also follow us on social media. You can follow us on Twitter at Royal Figures. You can follow us also on TikTok, Royal Figures Podcast. You can follow us on YouTube, Royal Figures, and you can follow us on Facebook on Royal Figures Talk Show. Okay. Now, there's a story that's out here. One of the articles is sportico.com. And, I find it very disappointing knowing that this story that the Colorado players were not protected. Now, it is a customary, I played high school basketball. I was all state and all region. I played Division II college basketball as well. Now, one of the things that even back then when I played college ball on D2 level is that some of the players that were very, very good and had an opportunity to actually transfer to a D1 school, an opportunity to go pro, is they talked about insurance. And insurance, even back in the day, was a topic of conversation, even in the 90s, early 2000s, because we know that when you're playing college sports on a very competitive level, anything can happen. I mean, it could take one bad injury and it can actually ruin your whole career. It can ruin your aspirations, your dreams, your goals of you wanting to make it to the professional ranks, whether that's in the NFL, whether that's in the NBA, soccer. We just know that injuries happen, right? So it will behoove you, if you are knowing that you're the top 25 pick or in the first round, is that you get insurance to cover yourself so you can have something to fall back on just in case you have a career-ending injury. The reason why I wanted to talk about this story with Travis Hunter, before he got hurt, Travis Hunter did not have an athlete insurance. And this story was quite alarming, and I know it's quite alarming to some people, because when you're being coached by, an all-time great, a Hall of Famer, and that's Deion Sanders, right? And you have all these other professional athletes that has been talking to the players, people like Terrell Owens, LaShawn McCoy, and Michael Irvin, Keyshawn Johnson, Richard Sherman. Then you have Kevin Garnett that showed up. There's a lot of professional players, even The Rock, that showed up that are celebrities. And I know The Rock is an actor and all that stuff like that, but he did play collegiate football in Miami Hurricanes. Is that why wouldn't you have or make sure that your top dog, as Deion Sanders say, is not insured? This conversation didn't come up at all. At all? At all. Now, let me read this part of this article from Sportico. They had stated in the article that while it wasn't necessarily unusual for Hunter to go into the season without an underlying PTD policy at the start of the season, given the fact the sophomore is not draft eligible this year, industry experts describe it as a major oversight that he had not been immediately insured following his breakout performance in Colorado's 45-42 upset victory over the number 17 ranked TCU on September the 3rd. That's alarming, y'all. I want you to think about that for a moment. That is very alarming. That means that there was nobody that was looking out for Travis Hunter. Nobody. Not the head coach, not the assistant coaches, nobody, the school, nobody. And that is alarming to me. And if I was Travis Hunter, I would felt a certain type of way, like, hey, Coach Dion, somebody, no, man, I could have had a career-ending injury. Now, listen to this on the Sports Code article. It said, while Hunter is still uninsured, and this was about 6 days ago. This article was written about 6 days ago. Sources say he is expected to have a policy in place before he returns to the field. The consequences of having waited is that his liver injury will almost assuredly be excluded from any PTD he signs now. According to insurance experts, even if he has CI coverage going into the Colorado State game, the liver injury he suffered may not have counted toward a payout. In any case, it would have been covered under PTD. Man. Let's kind of go into it, right? Now, the underlying permanent total disability, which is PTD policy, pays out in the event that an athlete suffers a career-ending injury that is not excluded from the terms. Critical injury is known as CI coverage, which has gained increasing popularity in recent years, offers protection to athletes projected to land within a certain range of the NFL draft. Now, if insured, players suffer specific injuries that require surgery or lead to disablement for certain time periods, the benefits are triggered. This is why it's so important to be insured. And I hope that any college athlete that is a dominant player that is listening to the Royal Figures podcast, that you go and get insured and covered now. Now, in the article in Sportico, it says typically ailments such as high-grade ligament tears, torn rotator cuffs, or heart attacks can lead to $250,000 in benefits. That's a lot of money on the table. Now, the Colorado spokesperson, who on account of educational privacy laws declined to identify the specific players covered, said as of Thursday, the school was paying for 2 million PTD policies with $250,000 critical riders and one $5 million PTD policy with a $250,000 CI rider. In parentheses, they said that Shedeur Sanders is currently considered to be a better NFL prospect than Weaver or Horn. Now, PTD policies typically cost between $5,000 to $7,000 per million of coverage, while critical injury riders can tack on an additional $15,000 to $20,000. Now, according to the spokesperson, they want to remain nameless. From Sportico article, Colorado has never had more than 2 football players insured in the same season. Now it has 3 and will soon have a 4th. Now let's break this down. Now, one of the things about this article that I found that was quite unusual and interesting at the same time is this. Let me repeat this section of the article. The Colorado spokesperson, who on account of educational privacy laws declined to identify the specific players covered. He said this, he or she said as of Thursday, the school was paying for $2 million of PTD policies with $250,000 of critical riders and one $5 million PTD policy with a $250,000 CI rider. Now, my question I will have for the spokesperson. First of all, you're nameless. And you don't want to put your name out there for obvious reasons. Maybe you don't want certain people in Colorado, whether it's the president, whether it's the head coach, you don't want somebody to understand that you may think by putting names on the actual on record, it may offend some people. Now, I would want to know who are the several people who are covered under the Colorado program. Who? I want to know. Because the reason why this is so powerful for me to understand is that I cannot understand if Deion Sanders is so highly praising Travis Hunter, and he has already put on record that Travis Hunter is going to be the number one college player in the country. If you have so much high hopes and aspirations of Travis Hunter, you tell me why, coach, you don't have Travis Hunter or did not have Travis Hunter insured, protected, because that hit that he took, and I'm going to keep saying this, that hit that Travis Hunter took could have ended his career easily. And he couldn't have no protection because he was not insured. Shame on the head coach of Deion Sanders. Shame on everybody from Colorado, from the athletic director, from everybody in that athletic department. Just shame, shame, shame. Every one of them, if they take accountability, they drop the ball. They drop the ball. They drop the ball big time. Big time. Now, let me read what this article says. And yet, now, Lloyd's of London also took note, according to sources, agreeing to underwrite millions of dollars more of coverage for both players in the event they suffer career-ending injuries. Now, let me kind of go up so you can see that's why that statement was made. That game thrust the team into the national spotlight when Colorado beat TCU at the time. Their first game against TCU, number 17 ranked. It thrust them into the national spotlight, elevating both Shedeur Sanders, who threw for 510 yards, and Hunter, who played an eye-open 144 combined snaps on offense and defense. Especially, man, when you have this guy that's playing both sides of the ball. You have to watch his ass. You have to protect him. He's even more, him and Shedeur, because Shedeur plays the position of quarterback. Both of them are high targeting, injured positions easily. Now, following the win, Deion Sanders went on both the Undisputed and the Pat McAfee show with the prediction that Hunter would eventually go into the NFL as the top draft pick on both sides of the ball. This was said after the first game. Lloyd's of London also took note, according to sources, agreeing to underwrite millions of dollars more of coverage for both players in the event they suffer career-ending injuries. And yet, they continue to be uninsured in Colorado's next two games. At home against Nebraska on September the 9th and against Colorado State a week later when Hunter was hospitalized following the controversial late hit in the first quarter? Come on, man. Come on, Prime. This is on the coach. This is on the coach. You can't listen, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm about to say. You can't be out here flossing over $50,000 worth of jewelry, flossing jewelry all in your mouth and caps and everything like that, and driving in a doggone fancy high-priced cars, whether it's Rolls-Royce Phantom that he said that he wanted to get, driving in a Mercedes Maybach and all these fancy cars, right? But yet you're not paying attention to the most important thing you need to pay close attention to, which is getting your ass insured, just in case you may have a career-ending injury. Is it me? These guys do know that they play one of the most violent sports in the world, which is in the football. You have to understand that you have to make sure you take care numero uno, which is your body first, which is your body is an asset. Later, for fancy cars and jewelry, your ass need to make sure that you are covered. Remember, assets over liabilities. You're out here playing college football at the highest level, and you are a liability on the field. And I say liability because you are not covered. You are not insured. You are just walking on the field, running on the field, no type of insurance, and anything can happen and your career's over with and you don't have no protection. That's like you driving a car and you don't have no insurance. You get in a wreck and you can't cover your medical bills. You can't even cover the things to fix your car because you have no insurance. Now, listen to this. According to insurance experts, any PTD coverage Hunter now obtains will likely include an exclusion for his liver, meaning that the policies will not pay out if the insurance company deem his work loss owed to the trauma the organ sustained earlier this month. Check this out. Paradigm Gilbert was co-founded by former sports agent Dennis Gilbert, who made a name representing a number of Major League Baseball stars in the 80s and the 90s. The basis of Deion Sanders' connection to Paradigm Gilbert or Vukovich is unclear, as are the reasonings the coach may have wanted his players to use that broker. Sanders did not answer a question about his relationship with Paradigm Gilbert sent through a Colorado spokesperson. Listen to that. Listen to that now. Let me read that again. Now, the basis of Deion Sanders' connection to Paradigm Gilbert, who was co-founded by former sports agent Dennis Gilbert, who made a name representing a number of Major League Baseball stars in the 80s and 90s, is unclear. So they're saying that they don't know really the connection between Deion Sanders and Paradigm Gilbert or Vukovich is unclear. But as are the reasons the coach may have wanted his players to use that broker. Now, they said in parentheses, which is important, that Sanders did not answer a question about his relationship with Paradigm Gilbert sent through a Colorado spokesperson. Check this out. Former MLB pitcher Matt Garza's suit against Paradigm Gilbert, which was filed in Los Angeles Superior Court in 2021, accuses the firm and a related entity, Gilbert Insurance Group, of breach of duties by failing to conduct proper due diligence about the pitcher's medical history and then submitting a policy application that was 65% incomplete to Lloyd's of London. The $10 million policy cost Garza $190,000 according to his suit. After Matt Garza tore his labrum during an on-field collision in 2018, Garza submitted a disability claim that was denied on account of his original application being incomplete and inaccurate. In addition to Paradigm Gilbert, Garza sued Lloyd's of London and International Specialty Insurance, known as ISI, the policy's controversial cover holder, which has been sued by a number of athletes over policies that didn't pay out. Now, listen to this. Paradigm Gilbert, in its pleadings, has argued that it did not have a duty to independently investigate information in the application and should have no conceivable liability. Now, since Gilbert had no common law obligation to uncover Garza's misrepresentations and assumed no duty to do so, Garza's negligence claim against Gilbert fails as a matter of law. The company stated that it's in pending motion for summary judgment. The litigation is currently in the discovery phase with a trial date set for July 2024. What does this tell you? What does this tell you, y'all? I'm telling you the importance that this needs to be put out on the forefront. This needs to be a topic of conversation that needs to be talked about on First Take. It needs to be talked about on Undisputed. It needs to be talked about on the Pat McAfee show. It needs to be talked about on College Game Day. It needs to be talked about on ESPN Sports Center. It needs to be talked about on podcasts, more than just my podcast that's already talking about this right now, currently, and going to be airing it in the next 30, 45 minutes. This is serious, y'all. This is serious. This is very serious. And this needs to be where I feel that college athletes needs to be educated on the importance of being covered and being insured. Need to be educated on the right companies, because you definitely don't want to be going to the wrong company who's not going to represent you well and not and do things the right way. You don't want someone like Paradigm Gilbert that's found him and his group that's in this lawsuit because allegedly they failed to represent and fill out completely the right way the terms of the contract so that this professional baseball player could get paid and end up costing him close to $200,000. This is ridiculous. This is why it's so very important. You have to get with people that know what they're talking about, and people that's going to treat you with respect, and people that's going to be honest and make sure that you're taken care of. Y'all go ahead and let me know in the comment section, what are y'all thoughts on this situation with Travis Hunter not being covered under insurance? And let me know. Engage with me. Reply in the comment section, whether it's on Apple and Spotify or whether it's on the social media platforms. I want to know your opinion on this situation. Until next time, stay tuned to another episode of the Royal Figures Podcast. Take care.